Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Packers Unscripted from Packers.com. I am Mike Spofford, joined by my partner in everything Packers, Wes Hodkiewicz, here to wish you a happy new year from 1265 Lombardi Avenue. And to talk about Week 18, Wes, against the Minnesota Vikings. But before we even really get into the Vikings, we've got some roster moves to discuss because since we last sat in these chairs talking about Packers football, Packers have made a number of roster moves here in Week 18, and I'll let you take it from there because you know the ins and outs. No, I mean, what I mean is, go ahead and start with the one you think is the most significant.
I was like,
and we can get the discussion started.
I think I saw on the social media there were 15 transactions the Packers have done this week, I think is what it totaled out to be.
Wow.
Including the number of individuals that were placed on injury reserve. As we learned on Wednesday, that includes Zane Anderson and Nate Hobbs, both of whom suffered injuries that I think Matt LaFleur said does not anticipate them being back this season.
Right.
Never say never. They did also bring back Nick Niemann, designated to return from injury reserve. That's number 5 of the Packers' 8 allotments to be designated to return from injured reserve. Certainly a big special teams player for Green Bay before his ankle injury. Desmond Ridder is in the building now, the former draft pick of the Atlanta Falcons. He is quarterback 4 now for Green Bay. Came from that same 2022 draft that produced Malik Willis. Those two went through the draft process together. So we're not sure exactly if it's going to be Jordan Love, who at the time in which we're taping this is still in the concussion protocol. Malik Willis says his shoulder's feeling good, but we don't know if he's going to play on Sunday. It could be Clayton Tune, who was added to the 53-man roster along with 3 other cornerbacks at the time. Oh, and then by the way, on Wednesday evening, the NFL transaction wire came out, and the Green Bay Packers placed and successfully were awarded Trayvon Diggs off of waivers from the Dallas Cowboys. At the time in which we're taping this, the medical process has to happen, the clearance process has to happen. But Michael, if you would have ever told me going back to the beginning of August that Micah Parsons would be on the Green Bay Packers and Diggs would be on the Packers and Kenny Clark is no longer on the Packers, my mind is going like a million different directions right now. But yeah. I wrote an insider inbox. It is another example, the 80th example of the fact that roster building is 365 days a year. It's 7 days a week. And Brian Gutekunst and his personnel department, moves had to get made with the amount of injuries Green Bay's been hit with, and this week was just yet another example of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be curious to see exactly where things go at quarterback this week because the acquisition of Ridder would seem to indicate that maybe they're just going to go with Clayton Tune and have Ridder be the backup and not put Jordan Love or Malik Willis in any kind of harm's way with the injuries that they are coming off of, but we will see how that goes. The cornerback move with claiming Trayvon Diggs and then also signing guys off the practice squad, Bartholomew and Simpson, these guys.
Jonathan Baldwin,
an undrafted rookie from this year. All these moves at cornerback being made really out of necessity because, as you mentioned, Nate Hobbs has gone down. Kamal Haddon has gone down. He's out for the season. So you were down to, without any of these moves being made, you were down to effectively your number 3 cornerback was going to be Bo Melton, who had just switched to cornerback this year and has not actually played on defense in the regular season as of yet. He may get some of that regular season action in Minnesota on Sunday, but now you've added Diggs to the mix. You've made these other moves with the guys on the practice squad and elevating them and whatnot. So the Packers, at least, Brian Gutekunst has done everything he can at this point to, at this late stage, to reinforce a position that was in need of reinforcements. And, color me curious, I guess. I mean, Trayvon Diggs may end up being a whale of a story here for Green Bay because if he goes out, whether it's Chicago or Philadelphia in the wild card round, I don't know if he's going to play this week or not. But if he goes out in the playoff game and, makes a play, gets an interception or something like that, and who knows, maybe leads to, a Packers victory and advancement, a guy that kind of fell into Green Bay's lap because the Dallas Cowboys, were moving on. Sometimes another one team's trash can be another team's treasure. I mean, this is an opportunity that really comes with no risk for the Packers, but done out of necessity because of what's happened at that position.
Yeah, and for an all-pro like Diggs at 27 years old to be on the waiver wire at this part of a season, I was blown away when I saw the report that Dallas was moving on. Certainly there were some things that played into that. You can go back. Brian Schottenheimer talked a lot about all of it. But the fact of the matter is, Mike, as you laid it out, Green Bay's cornerback situation has been absolutely depleted.
Yep.
You could not have asked for a worse situation to come out of that Baltimore game than losing both Nate Hobbs and Kamal Hadden, who finally for the first time appeared to be on the verge of getting some defensive snaps at the time in which he was injured. Hobbs ended up injuring his knee on what was probably maybe his best play of the season with that pass deflection he had in the end zone as he was starting to ramp things up again.
Yeah, saved a touchdown at that moment.
So Green Bay's depth at that position in a span of maybe 2 quarters gets completely wiped out. So to have a guy like Diggs and bring him in addition to the fact that him and Micah Parsons are very close. I mean, these guys, they talked about 7-11 in Dallas, but it was also the bond and the friendship they'd formed off the field as well. I mean, them talking about them wanting to play together. They want to retire together. They want to go in the Hall of Fame together a few years back. This was something that both of those guys were seriously cut up about when Parsons did ultimately get traded. You saw their embrace when those two came back together in week 4 after the game in Dallas. These guys really care about each other. So immediately Micah Parsons takes to social media, says, "We are back." I mean, he is excited about it, a saluting face. I mean, we'll see what it means past this season, but for the Green Bay Packers needing to make a move, this was the time to make it. And if you look back at Brian Gutekunst's tenure as GM, how many times have you and I talked about this, Mike? Not necessarily at the cornerback position, although there was that one guy named Rasul Douglas who came in at the stroke of midnight and within weeks was making a big play against his former team. In helping the Packers get a win over the Arizona Cardinals during the 2021 season. But whether it's Jared Valdir or some of these other veterans they brought along late in the season to kind of, Whitney Merciless a few years back, the Packers always keep their eyes peeled to this sort of thing. And for Diggs, I think it's an amazing opportunity for him to show that, I'm still the player everybody thinks I was.
Yeah, and this is a young man who really came on the scene in a big way. Coming out of Alabama, 2nd-round draft pick for the Cowboys, PFWA All-Rookie, as you said. Then he moves on to getting All-Pro honors, 11 interceptions in one season. And then a couple years ago, the injuries started to hit, and he just hasn't seemed to be able to get his body right and to have that physical part of things squared away. So, as you said, an opportunity for him. He's looking for a new lease on his career, whether that's in Green Bay or wherever it may be in 2026, and maybe he can help the Packers here in a playoff run in a couple weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to just mention before we turn the page completely to Minnesota, before all these moves, I thought the Packers made a really vital one as well in claiming Jonathan Ford off waivers from Chicago. This is a guy, former 7th-round pick for the Packers back in 2022. I was talking to him about this in locker room on Wednesday, just how coincidental it is, because my friend Pete Doherty would tell me there's no such thing as irony, but how coincidental it is that for 3.5 years, the Packers were unusually historically durable and healthy on the defensive line.
Right.
Ford never got an opportunity just because there weren't any spots for him there available, especially once Colby Wooden and Carl Brooks were added into the mix. He leaves. He goes for 2 seasons, about a little over a season in Chicago, plays in 12 games. He ends up being on the outside looking in with the Bears. The Packers bring him back, and I've been saying this for as long as anybody's been willing to hear it from me. I'm a huge Jonathan Ford fan. This guy is 6'4", 340 pounds, and he wears it well.
Yeah.
This is a guy that is just a massive human being. The Packers need it. As much as we're talking about the secondary, Packers needed to have some help there at the cornerback position. They're trying to find some pieces inside right now to help that run defense. Jordan Riley is done for the season with that Achilles. They cut Quentin Bohannon. They need somebody to step up. And now you found somebody that has experience not only in this scheme, but also with this Packers locker room.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about Minnesota, even though this game does not impact anything as far as the Packers' playoff positioning, et cetera, et cetera. The Vikings, they've been out of the playoff chase for a while. A month ago, this team was 4-8. Their season was basically over in terms of any postseason hopes. But since then, a 4-game winning streak, Wes. They are now 8-8, looking to finish the season with a winning record under Kevin O'Connell. And this 4-game winning streak has really been put together largely on the backs of Brian Flores' defense, which I think has always been formidable this season, but definitely went through some ups and downs for a while there in 2025. But this defense now seems to really be hitting its stride. I think they pitched a shutout against Washington.
Yep.
They made life absolutely miserable for Jared Goff and the Lions on Christmas at US Bank Stadium. And no matter who's playing quarterback or how the Packers are going to divvy up reps and whatnot on the offensive line, at the perimeter positions, everything, whoever takes the field for Green Bay on offense on Sunday in Minneapolis had better be ready to get punched in the mouth, because this Vikings defense is going to come after them.
I absolutely love Flores' scheme. I think people always talk about being aggressive. Oh, you want to be aggressive. And what does that mean? Just blitzing 8 people every single time and to heck with it. Whatever else happens, happens. No, I mean, I'm sure you watched most of that, if not all of that Christmas Day game like I did against the Lions. And the way that he mixes his coverages, the way he uses his defensive front, blitzes, simulated pressures. We talk so much about Jeff Hafley in the simulated pressures. I think Flores has mastered that as well.
Yep.
He will line up 7 guys on the defensive front. The offensive line doesn't know who's coming, and he will send linebackers and defensive linemen, interior defensive linemen. There's no way to figure out exactly what the system is going to be or what the plan is going to be. It's all the same to him. Eric Wilson is second right now on the Vikings in sacks. He's up to 6.5 sacks this year.
Wow.
Their inside backers are as much a part of this pass rush as their defensive line is, and I think that makes them really super dangerous. In addition to having some experienced players.
This is a defense when you talk about being able to disguise what you're doing and not give away to the offense either what kind of pressure you're in or what kind of coverage you're in. Brian Flores and the Vikings are as good, and maybe this might be the best defense in the league in terms of that one category of disguise, in terms of making things so difficult on the offense to figure out what they're doing. I mean, a big part of that is having veteran players. Now, I know Josh Metellus at safety is injured for the Vikings and not currently playing, but Harrison Smith is still out there, and he's spent his entire career being a master of disguise at the safety position, whether he's lining up on the line of scrimmage, lining up deep, lining up like an inside linebacker sometimes. I mean, Harrison Smith will line up anywhere, and you never really know exactly what he's up to. But that's just one example, and Brian Flores sort of takes that to the hilt with the rest of it. And I know there's a lot of news in Minnesota right now that, Flores is becoming a coaching free agent. His contract is expiring. He's saying that he's just going to let his agent work with the Vikings, on the next contract. But, of course, there are the questions as to whether he's going to get a head coaching job. But there was the lawsuit from earlier when he had failed to get a coaching job. So there's a lot of stuff swirling around with regard to Flores and his future, but as well as I do, Wes, this Vikings defense wants to go out on the right note, and this is a Vikings team that kind of left Lambeau Field with their tail between their legs a little bit when they first visited here, because they weren't really that competitive against Green Bay, and I think they're going to want to make up for that.
Yeah, specifically the defense. I mean, I think that unit knows it's on its shoulders right now, and I think it's played a lot better in the second half. Someone that really encapsulated is Andrew Van Ginkel, who got off to a relatively slow start, I would say, to his season. But if you look at this 5-game or 4-game winning streak, he's been the guy that's been getting going for him. I want to say he has like 8 quarterback hits during that, a sack, at least a half a sack in each of those games. I think Dallas Turner has turned out to be a nice draft pick for them. He's made a nice second-year step. I know there were some questions about Minnesota's drafts recently. I think Turner's going to ultimately be a good player for them down the line. And Javon Hargrove, a lot of those interior defensive linemen are guys that I've been high on for so long, are established in the National Football League.
Right.
They set the tone. But to the point a lot of people have made this year with the Vikings is it's about the offense.
Yep.
And the offense has been so hit or miss this season. Now, some of that is the injuries with J.J. McCarthy, and this week is no exception to that. They had Carson Wentz step in for a second. That, he got injured. it was kind of already trending downward by the time he had gotten injured in terms of the on-field performance. I think he was 2-3 at that point as a starter. And then Max Brosmer, the Minnesota kid, had to step in. They hitched this entire team's hopes this season to McCarthy, for better or for worse.
Yep.
They decided he was our first-round pick a year ago. We're not going to keep Sam Darnold. We're going to roll with him. And honestly, they kept the rest of the offense together for the most part. A little bit older in a lot of ways, but they said, we're going to give you Justin Jefferson. We're going to give you Jordan Addison. We're going to bring back Aaron Jones.
TJ Hawkinson.
And TJ Hawkinson, absolutely. Now he's not practicing this week. I'm not sure exactly what's happening there. But the weapons were in place for McCarthy, and it's been, inconsistent, I think is what you would say. Whether he plays in this game, we will see. Certainly, you don't want to do any extra damage to that hand going into the offseason. But at the same time, I mean, that kid probably needs a win. He probably needs some momentum to go into this offseason, because right now, with where the Vikings are at, you look at their season and sitting at 500, and you can pretty much point a direct line to the quarterback play. Yeah.
As far as the Packers are concerned, we don't really know at this point exactly what the plans are. Matt LaFleur has made suggestions at the podium that the health of the team is the priority for the playoffs, despite the team's current 3-game losing streak. But there are still, including the 2 quarterbacks, I believe I saw 10 essentially starters/regulars on this team. 10 guys are still listed on the injury report.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a strong consideration in terms of who plays and who doesn't. There are going to be other guys that on snap counts where they aren't going to play the entire game. There are going to be opportunities for some young guys to take on a pretty significant snap load in this game, and as we talked about on our last show, maybe show that they could have a role in the playoffs and possibly help this team in the postseason. So rather than ask for the keys to victory for Green Bay, I am going to just toss it to you and say, who are the 1 or 2 guys maybe at the top of your list that you're wondering, okay, if they show something against Minnesota with a larger opportunity than they would normally have in a game, who do you have your eye on here?
Okay, so a couple things of this. One, I was talking with Jalen Simpson in the locker room on Wednesday, and I loved what he said about all these guys that have been called up. He said, these guys that have been playing, they've been playing for 17 weeks in a row. They've been going week after week after week. I got to play one game. I have to bring it. I have to bring the energy. I have to bring, everybody's mood up. Not that they need that, but I mean, there is a responsibility there, they're feeling like, for these young guys on the roster to make an impact here. It's almost like 300, right? You probably never saw that movie, but it's like, you have the Spartans and
Athenians, okay, I know what you're talking about.
The Athenians come in and they kind of give them a break for a minute. Yeah. That's what this practice squad team is like right now, because they'll be relying on it. But to the bigger picture, a guy I'm really looking forward to seeing, hopefully in this game, we'll see how they divvy up snaps, is Lucas Van Ness. Because it appears like Van Ness has put the foot behind him. He's no longer on the injury report with it. I understand what happened against Baltimore, and I understand how things ended against Chicago, but I thought Van Ness coming back, he doesn't have that sack yet, but I think he's bringing a presence. I think he's bringing a mindset. I don't know what his pressure numbers were like in that game against Baltimore, but I think he's been able to kind of pick up where he left off when he ended up getting injured against Cincinnati. The only thing that stopped that kid this year was the foot. It's unfortunate it happened, but as the Packers move into the postseason, they need a jolt with the pass rush. Yep. They need to be able to get home with a 4-man pressure. Whether it's him, whether it's Rashawn, Kingsley Enagbari, whoever it is, being able to kind of provide that is going to be huge for them. And then also, Mike, whoever starts at quarterback, it's a $1 million opportunity. If it is Malik Willis going at quarterback, this is one more opportunity to show what he has to offer before free agency. He even said it. He's like, it's kind of boring sometimes having to watch. He would like to play if they allow him to. He feels like the shoulder's doing okay. Okay, let's say they don't play Willis. Clayton Tune was brought in, and Mike, once the Packers announced their 53, it felt like it was 5 minutes after the final cuts went through that people were attaching Clayton Tune to Green Bay once he was released in Arizona. Yeah,
that was like the worst kept secret in the personnel business in the NFL.
The Packers really like this kid, and when he cleared waivers, they brought him in as QB3. It was an unfortunate situation that happened last week that he was thrown into, but if he gets the chance to go out there, and I assume he probably will play some.
Yeah.
this is going to be a huge audition for him as the Packers try to find that next QB2, assuming, Malik Willis gets that opportunity we've all been talking about now for seemingly a year.
Yeah, and one other quick note as well with regard to Willis, he is also listed on the injury report with a hamstring now, in addition to the throwing shoulder. So that will be another consideration in terms of how this weekend goes. I'm with you with regard to looking at somebody on the defensive front, like you mentioned, Lucas Van Ness. The guy on my mind is Brenton Cox Jr.
Yes, sure.
Because we have seen him now come back, a long layoff. He got hurt way back at the beginning of the season. Came back in the Chicago game, the second Chicago game, I should say.
Yeah.
And we saw a little something there for sure, but we also saw, once or twice where maybe, the contain of Caleb Williams was lost. I mean, he looked like a player who was just getting back into things, was a little bit rusty. A guy like this who can potentially help the Packers in the playoffs in a limited role if they want to have him out there for like 8 or 10 snaps, getting the chance to play whatever it might be, 25 or 30, maybe even more snaps in a regular season game against Minnesota. This is Brenton Cox Jr.'s chance to really get like his legs under him again, and then to carry that into that part-time role that pass rushing specialist type of role. As you said, the pass rush needs to find some juice here in the post Micah Parsons era. So that would be the guy that I have my eye on. I want to ask you a few other things with regard to playoff implications here in Week 18, but we do need to pay some bills first. So let's hear a quick word from our sponsors. SiriusXM NFL Radio delivers hard-hitting analysis and up-to-the-minute NFL news that true football fanatics need 24/7, 365. At Cousin Subs, we have something for everyone, like our Wisconsin cheese curds, mac and cheese, golden fries, and creamy shakes, all paired with your favorite sub or sub in a bowl. Cousin Subs, 50-plus years of better. Pit Boss Grills, the official grill of Packers tailgating at Lambeau or at your house. Take your game day to the next level with a Pit Boss wood pellet grill. Pit Boss Grills available at Menards. Hey Packers fans, we always knew Lambeau Field was a wonder, but now it's official. Learn more about all the wonders of Wisconsin at travelwisconsin.com/wonders. Welcome back to Packers Unscripted. All right, Wes, so Green Bay is waiting to find out if it is headed to Chicago or Philadelphia for the wild card round. The Packers will play at noon on Sunday. They won't know their opponent until the 3:25 games wrap up because the Bears are taking on the Lions. The Eagles, who have basically said they're going to rest their starters, are playing the Commanders. If the Bears win or if the Eagles lose, the Packers will be going to Chicago. If the Bears lose and the Eagles win, then the Packers will be going to Philadelphia. You got a prediction? What do you think's going to happen here?
Pain. I'm just kidding. What is that from Rocky? I'm trying to remember.
Rocky 3.
Yeah,
that was
Pain.
Clubber Lang, my friend. Nicely done.
So here is the thing that I think is most funny. We have talked so much about this rubber match with the Bears. Even when the Packers beat them the first time, it was kind of lining up like 2-7 as far as the seeds.
Whichever way it was going to go, yeah.
It just feels like the rug is going to get pulled out from underneath of us, and next thing you know, you and I are going to be back at the link, just like we were at the beginning of 2025, and the Packers are playing the Eagles. I think the Eagles beating the Commanders, to me, not to say anything can't happen, to me that's a foregone conclusion.
Even if they're resting their starters.
Even if they're resting their starters. Okay. If you watch the Commanders recently.
I know. I was just clarifying. Yes, the Commanders are struggling. No
is Josh Johnson still starting?
Okay. I know.
Yeah, I think. Okay.
He started on Christmas against the Cowboys. Yes.
We'll see what happens. See what happens. But that being said, I think this is going to be the Detroit Lions Super Bowl.
It might be.
Dan Campbell, those coaches, everybody has something to prove in this game. They have to prove that we were a winning team this season that was extremely inconsistent. And 15-2 did not happen, but we are much better than 9-8 or 8-9 would suggest. So I'm really interested. We won't be able to watch it, but I'm very interested to see the result of that and the course that Detroit takes. Me personally, if you leave it up to me, I would rather go to Chicago. One, I think from the Packers' perspective, it's a less taxing trip. It's a little puddle jump down, 40-minute flight down to Chicago. Packers know that routine every single year. They've played there. I think it's good for the division. I think it's good for the history of the rivalry. It would be only the third playoff game between those teams. I think the narratives would be there with Ben Johnson and that. But, yeah, I mean, I said it earlier this week. It's a horse apiece. I really don't care. But
you just want to go to Giordano's Pizza again.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I'll just have to get on the treadmill a little bit longer.
All right. San Francisco taking on Seattle Saturday night. That is for the number 1 seed and the first round bye in the NFC, along with, of course, the NFC West Division Championship. Who do you think wins this one?
San Francisco.
Yeah.
San Francisco.
That's what I think, too.
Save this video, but I think San Francisco runs through them. I do. Because I think Seattle, this is a really bad matchup for them. I don't know if offensively they're going to be able to push the pace the way that Chicago did against San Francisco. I mean, the 49ers defense is not the traditional 49ers defense. They're praying they can get Fred Warner back. They're giving up yards and production. But offensively, man, Brock Purdy, since he came back from the turf toe, has been dialed in. Christian McCaffrey is healthy again, and everything seems to be flowing. If George Kittle is back for this, that's just one more weapon for Purdy in this offense. Yeah. So Seattle I respect them. They're an awesome 13-win team. I think that defense is going to be a real test for San Francisco. But right now, where I sit in this chair, San Francisco now appears to me to be the best team in the NFC.
Yeah. These next, this game and potentially next week, depending on how it falls, it's sort of, it's turning into the ultimate prove it ground for Sam Darnold, right? Because he was in this exact same position last year as the quarterback of the Vikings,
13 wins.
Going on the road in week 18 with a chance to get the number 1 seed, or the other result is to get the 5 seed and go on the road in the playoffs. Sam Darnold did not play well. The Vikings lost to the Lions. They dropped to the 5 seed. They went on the road in the first round of the playoffs and lost again with Darnold having another poor performance, ending what was a fantastic season for him last year with 2 duds, quite frankly. He's in the exact same position again where the 1 versus 5 seed is on the line. He has to do it on the road against a division rival with his new team now. The only caution I have with regard to the 49ers, because I'm with you, and I do think the 49ers win this game at home, but the 49ers defense showed a lot of vulnerability last week against the Chicago Bears. And if Sam Darnold gets things rolling and doesn't fall into, kind of that rough outing at the end of the year that he had last year, if he gets things rolling against the Niners defense, which has been trying to hold together without Nick Bosa, without Fred Warner, I think the Seahawks and Darnold are going to give him a game, but I would still lean towards San Francisco. NFC South, Carolina, Tampa Bay. How do you think this one falls?
Yeah, I think New Orleans.
I'll take the Falcons then.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
Tyler Shuck. Let me put it this way: Tampa Bay's in a tailspin. So I would favor the Panthers in this.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's that weird thing that could happen where Tampa Bay could actually win this and still not get
and then still not get in because if that happens, if Tampa Bay wins, they would need the Falcons to lose so that there isn't a 3-way tie for the division title.
A 3-way tie would propel
Carolina. They have the tiebreaker. Yeah. It's funny how that works. Carolina would not have the tiebreaker in a 2-way tie with Tampa Bay, but they would have the tiebreaker in a 3-way tie if Atlanta is also in that mix at 8 and 9. So I honestly don't know. I have no idea who's going to win this game because I haven't been able to figure out the NFC South all season long.
Since you started covering football professionally, can you ever think of a situation in which a division, this title is going to come down to Carolina and Tampa, but the 2 teams that are out of the race are the hottest teams down the stretch?
in that same division. Yeah, it's bizarre. I can't remember.
That's why you got to play them all. But I mean,
right. I mean,
because I'm saying, if Atlanta would sneak in, they can't, but let's say they snuck in, I would be a little bit nervous about facing the Falcons right now with Kirk Cousins, with the way Bijan's running the ball right now.
And going into that indoor dome down in Atlanta where things can get kind of loud and all that. I mean, there's,
Is anybody nervous about going to Tampa right now?
Nah.
Whoever loses,
everybody from north of the Mason-Dixon line would be looking forward to going to Tampa for the warmth. The way this early winter has gone around here, but
yeah, I mean, I think Carolina's a fun.
Where is the game? Sunday or Saturday?
It's in Tampa Bay.
It's
Florida.
in Tampa.
Yeah,
Okay,
Raymond
I
James
wasn't
Stadium.
sure who was because they just played 2 weeks ago in
that one was in
Carolina, and Carolina won that one. So one more I'll throw at you. Of course, it's Sunday Night Football. It's Aaron Rodgers, the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens stayed alive for the AFC North title against the Packers, and then Pittsburgh failed to close out the division title by losing to the Browns, only putting up 6 points. So this is a division championship winner is in, loser goes home game on Sunday Night Football, the last game of the regular season. Ravens Steelers, who you got?
I think the Steelers' season ended after that situation with DK Metcalf at Ford Field. I do. I don't think they have the offensive firepower. If TJ Watt's not back defensively, this defense has been kind of a sieve at times this season. Lamar Jackson is practicing. Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry.
Yep.
And Baltimore's defense, for all of its flaws, they can defend the run pretty well. So I don't know if Pittsburgh is going to be able to set that thing up well enough with Gainwell and everything to and Warren to be able to keep them honest. I as much as there's a part of me that is, hey, 12, let's do this one more time. I'd love to see him in the playoffs and see what he could do at Pittsburgh. That was not an encouraging performance last week against Cleveland.
I think Baltimore got the reprieve it needed.
Yep.
They came into Lambeau Field and played a great game, and then they got the reprieve with Pittsburgh not being able to close out the division title. I think Baltimore wins this, and as long as Lamar Jackson stays healthy, Baltimore could be a dangerous team in the AFC playoffs. And AFC playoffs, much like the NFC playoffs, which we'll talk more about next week, just feels like it's wide open. I mean, tell me who if anybody feels like an overwhelming favorite. I don't see it in either conference, quite frankly, and I think Baltimore could be as dangerous as anybody if the Ravens get in.
Yeah, Baltimore, Lamar he wasn't gone for like 7 weeks like Aaron Rodgers was, but there's just something about him. It feels like that 2013 Packers team where it's just they stayed alive long enough that, okay, let's see what we can do now.
Yeah.
But kudos to Tyler Huntley, and I'll say this again, the Packers need to play better against Baltimore. There's no question about that. No one's debating that.
Yeah.
But the Ravens played, in addition to playing impassioned football at Lambeau Field, they played pretty free. Like, it was like, you know what, we're just going to go see what happens, and then we'll see if Cleveland can do something crazy.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yep.
So here you are.
Yeah, here we are. All right, well, with that, we'll call it a wrap on this Happy New Year edition of Packers Unscripted. Be sure to follow all of our coverage of the team and everything from Sunday's game at US Bank Stadium against the Vikings. We'll have it all for you on Packers.com. For Wes, I'm Mike. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We will see you next time.